Take note of Cindy Wilson. You've probably taken note of her before as one of the singers of the B-52’s. Now she's got a solo album, Change, coming out on November 24th on the Kill Rock Stars label. She has a bunch of live dates in September and October too. So, in the Music is My Life podcast, we follow the musical journey of our guests. And Cindy has been on hers for 4 decades. She began the B-52’s in Athens, Georgia, with her guitar-playing older brother Ricky Wilson, drummer Keith Strickland, and singers Kate Pearson and Fred Schneider. Her brother passed away in 1985, and the band took a while to recover. Eventually, though, Keith Strickland switched from drums to guitar, and the band was reborn with the album Cosmic Thing, their biggest selling album to date. And after that massive success, she took some time off and rejoined the band a few years later, and is still a full-time member. But her solo project, which she frequently refers to as School, began life as a collaboration with Athens-based musician Ryan Monahan and drummer Lemuel Hayes, who are on tour with her now. And I must warn you that when I say they are on tour with her now, I mean the audio that you will hear in this interview is very much backstage conversation, as she warned me.
Yeah, we're going to do sound check in about 15 minutes or so.
So let's begin this trip at the beginning.
I think I'm like a lot of people who listen to, the Beatles and 45's, the radio. And so there was a lot of good music coming through when I was young. And I was a funny kid. I would get, my father would give me an allowance every week, and I would go and buy 45's or an album with them, with the money. And so it was wonderful to be able to just dance and pretend I was on stage, and I loved music, I think a lot of people were in the same, head, we had the wonderful radio, and it was just coming. We'd hear different artists. You had soul, you had the psychedelic, Beatlemania was happening. And so I got to embrace a lot. And there's a lot of influences that I kind of take from. But Ricky, who was 4 years older than I, he was a self-taught guitarist, musician, and he had a wonderful sense of the absurd, and he really, his idea was that rock and roll was dying, and that you really had to focus on being original and bringing something more to it. And so he had a great sense of humor, and I think that really reflects in the B-52's taste too. But I would sing with Ricky. He worked all summer and saved up money to get a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and it was a fantastic quality, and it had like 4 tracks, and you could do layering, and so it was fabulous to be able to work with Ricky that way. So it became really easy. When the B-52's we just kind of exploded. It just kind of happened that way, And I'm sorry.
That's fine. What is that?
Somebody sound checking. Yeah, they're testing mics and stuff. I'm sorry.
That's no problem. What are they singing? It's beautiful.
I think that was Ryan singing. Yeah. It must be. Anyway, yeah, I do a lot of harmonies with Brian and Suni, so it's kind of fun to have, to be harmonizing with guys too.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because that is very different from what you're used to in your whole bread and butter has been harmonizing with Kate.
Yeah, absolutely, and Fred, we really don't harmonize with Fred. Fred's more of the lead vocal in a lot of the songs, and yeah, we do a lot of fun harmonies, But going back to how music affected me and why I went into music it just kind of was in the air, really, and I was fortunate to have a genius brother too, who it was really fun working with.
Yeah, did you guys do anything before the B-52’s, like talent shows with the Wilson siblings or anything like that?
Ricky, they had, it was like back in the day, they would have jams at certain clubs in Athens. And I think Ricky did that once or twice. Keith Strickland he was in a band, and he played drums. But a lot of times I would go visit Ricky and Keith. When Ricky moved out of my parents' house, him and Keith got an apartment, and it was really fun. It was really a lot of music around, and they were creating a lot of music together. And so there was a lot of that's how Ricky and Keith started working together.
Right. Yeah, and the legend has it that you all shared a drink at a bar. What was it? A flaming volcano? Is that true?
This is true.
Paint the
heavily
picture for me, if you could.
Yeah. Well, it was okay. It's a big ceramic volcano with sterno on top and a moat around it, a giant moat, and everybody had a giant straw. And we drank this intoxicating rum drink out of it, it was kind of like a ceremony almost. We went back. It didn't take much to get tipsy back then. And we went back and just jammed in a friend's basement. And we were rolling on the floor. I mean, it was just laughing and having such a good time. And luckily, we recorded.
That's awesome.
Everything. Yeah. And a lot of songs turned out from there. I think Rock Lobster was an original from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. So did you know from that first jam session that this is going to be something?
No, in fact, it was just to amuse ourselves and to amuse friends. Yeah, and Athens, back in those days, you really had to make your own fun. I mean, there's a lot of cool people around, but you really had to really, develop things and make something out of nothing almost, It's, which really good art comes from boredom a lot of times, So that happened, but things started happening. Friends really loved it and encouraged us to go up to New York to play. And so we thought that was the end-all, be-all, is going to New York. And what else is there, after that? But we did that, and that was a big success. And we kept going back to New York and playing. And I think Ricky went to the university library, was looking up, what we needed to do. We got a press package, which we didn't have that much press, but we had a lot of photographs and some press. But and then I think we were just lucky a lot of times, and we did the Independent 45, and that and word of mouth just was amazing. The 45 carried us. Our Independent 45 carried us a long way as getting the word out there. And when we went back up to New York to play, there was a line around the block, and that's when we knew something really was happening.
So in those years when you guys are ascending and everything's pretty magical, you get the first two albums, one with Chris Blackwell, and
absolutely, and
you guys even played Saturday Night Live, right?
Yeah, and that's the equivalent. Some fans said to watching the Ed Sullivan Show back in the day,
right.
And they know where they were when we came on TV on the Saturday Night Live. It that kind of moment to a lot of our fans, you know. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that was ridiculously amazing, and you know, really shot us in the stratosphere. You know, those two albums were our first two. We had those already recorded. I mean, already written. So that went fairly smoothly, you know. And then Cosmic Thing turned out to be our one of our biggest seller,
Right.
because of all the singles, you know. And that was I didn't see that one coming either, really, you know. But it's you know, it's strange how things work out.
Now, what was the writing process like from the two major phases? You know, there's the first few albums, and then there's the phase after your brother passed away, and I imagine that changed everything.
Right. Well, like I said, Ricky and Keith worked well together, you know, making music, and they wrote the music for the first, you know, and then Fred, Kate, and I would come in and jam over it, and we would develop lyrics, vocal melodies, and harmonies, and also well, it was mostly Ricky and Keith were putting it all together at the beginning, but later on, it turned out to be a group effort. But it was Keith Strickland. While he was mourning Ricky, you know, he moved up to Woodstock, New York, and that's what he would do, is just write music for therapy, you know. And so, you know, we thought it was over, you know. I mean, I was a basket case, and Keith was he was incredibly, you know, depressed, but Keith said, "Well, do you want to try, see if we can write together and do it, or do y'all want to?" And so we decided, well, let's try it. So we ended up getting a cheap little space in New York City, and just kind of started jamming, and it was really amazing. It felt like Ricky was there, and it just felt normal, and in fact, it felt right. And so, as music often does, it was a real healing experience. And so I think that Cosmic Thing was like a nostalgic album, looking back at the good old days. It had a lot of nostalgia in it, and but we were doing it. We weren't writing the album to make a mega hit or anything. It was just more of a healing process and just having fun again, and then it just went crazy. You know?
Yeah, did that change the way? I'd imagine when you decided to give it another go, that you said you weren't thinking you'd conquer the world or anything, or be on magazine covers again. But did that? How did that change the way you lived your lives the next few years?
Well, the next few years was 24-hour a day, B-52. You eat, sleep, and drink. B-52, you know, we were on tour. The thing about success is once you get it, you know, that's when things start getting really hard, and you have to really step up to the plate and work even harder, you know. I mean, it's not getting to the success is one thing, but once you get there, that's when the real work begins. And so we were touring all the time, and it was amazing years.
Yeah, do you think of those years, the two phases, differently as far as the type of success that you had?
Oh, yes. You know, it's apples and oranges in certain ways, but at the same time, they're fruit. You know, and of course, my favorite was being with Ricky and at the beginning. You know, that will always be my favorite time.
Right.
You know, it was insane. It was really fun, and that helps me cope with the loss of Ricky is that I got to have some really special time with him creatively.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's interesting.
And
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, go ahead.
I was just thinking about like those two different phases and the way that like, although Cosmic Things is a lot of fun, it's more, it's almost more serious than some of the other stuff.
Well, there's a lot of humor in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. It's there's a touch of sadness.
Right.
There, for sure.
And so now I see we're running out of time, so I'll bring it to the future a little bit. I want to ask about when you did decide to take a little bit of time off from the 24/7 B-52's experience.
Yeah, I mean, I really got burned out after Cosmic Thing for a while. And so, and I think I had all the way grieved Ricky's death completely. So I thought, well, shoot, you can't get any more success than what we had accomplished with Cosmic Thing. I said, this is a good way to go out if I'm going to go out.
Yeah.
And so again, you think you see the ending, but I knew that the rest of the band could continue because it's just a lot of creativity there and a lot to work with. And so I gave a year's notice. I told him that I was going to leave in a year. I think that was a legitimate way to do it. Mm-hmm. And of course, when the year ended, they didn't believe it. But I did. I left New York City too, which was unbelievable. Everybody saying, "How can you leave New York City?" And so I wanted to go back down to Georgia and reestablish my relationships with my relatives down there, and because I'd kind of gotten, I didn't hang out with them very much anymore, and after Ricky's death, it really felt like I should go back down, mm-hmm. and so that's what I did. And yeah, I went through culture shock moving back down.
I'd imagine.
It was crazy. I'm glad that I went back down, mm-hmm. because my husband and I we had children, and my dad got to have a relationship with my kids before he passed away, and also my husband's dad got to see the kids, and so that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And so, and we made another place, but we really had to, rework our lives again. But it was all worth it. And then the band suggested or asked if I wanted to come back and do some shows. And so I said, well, I'll have to bring my baby. And so we did. We went out, and I had a bus with a lady to help me, and my husband and my baby. And actually, that was the easiest time to travel with your kids, or when they're real young.
Right. They don't care.
They don't care.
They have no idea.
I know. So it all worked out. And then, So.
Well, it's interesting that this is a good segue because you met Ryan through a birthday party for your son, right?
Yeah, Nolan. He was 9 years old, and it was the Beatle birthday, which is now just infamous. It was the best party. Adult or kids party I've been to, It means everybody was dressed as a Beatle or a character around the Beatles, Yoko or Patty or whatever, And so it was amazing, and a lot of psychedelia, and then there was but Ryan had a Beatle band, and so we hired him, and him and Lemuel were in it. Lemuel's in the band now too.
Yeah, he's the drummer, right?
And yeah, and so they were just the best. It was just amazing. I mean, Ryan, his talent was over the top, and he blew everybody away. I mean, it was just the best time. So we ended up hiring them for for a lot of our parties, and it was always fun. And so they became like a friends of the family, and so later on, I got asked if I wanted to do a song or two for the REM reunion thing or anniversary thing. That's what it was, anniversary. Mm-hmm. And so I asked Ryan. I mean, he's really good. I'm talking about. I mean, both him and Lemuel are just excellent. And they said, "Sure, let's do it."
Right, the Beatles tribute band. What were they called?
Oh shoot, I don't have it off the top of my head right now.
You don't know the name of Ryan's tribute band?
I can't. No, I know. Okay, I should know that.
But there was this legend I remember reading that John Lennon decided to make an album again because of Rock Lobster. Is there any truth to that?
Was it Rock Lobster? Oh, yes, it was. It was Rock Lobster. Well, this has been documented in, in some interviews. That he said that, they heard. They liked what we were doing, and they heard the girls' sounds in the songs, and thought that was a good place to come back. I think they appreciated the fun in our music. That rock and roll is not so serious or self-involved, mm-hmm. and so I think that inspired him. That's what I feel.
That's great.
I know. I remember where I was when they announced John Lennon was shot. We were in Paris, and I just remember it crystal clear. It was just like, oh my God, it's insane. So it was very sad.
So what REM song did you and Ryan do?
We did. What was the song that we did? What was the song that Ryan and I did on the Ryan? Come here, buddy.
You need to ask him the name of his Beatles band.
I know. Come here. What was the name of your Beatle band?
Oh, Beatles for Sale.
Beatles for Sale. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was one of their first albums.
Yeah, Beatles for Sale. And what was the second question?
What was the REM song you guys did?
What was the REM song that we did for the REM anniversary thing?
We did, I thought we did a few. We did, Losing My Religion.
That's it. Losing My Religion. And Don't Go Back to
Rockville.
Rockville. Yeah.
Nice.
I think that was it. Yeah.
Excellent.
And yeah.
At one point we did Stand. We did Stand also.
Stand. Okay.
Yeah, Stand in the...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, those are the songs. We started working on music together as far as doing garage band type of songs, and anything I tossed at him, he would learn it so quickly and nail it, And these are songs that he wouldn't know what they were, It's like obscure garage band songs, And but he nailed every one of them, and it was such a good time. So it was easy to work with Ryan. Both him and Lemuel were just really easygoing, mm-hmm. Really cool. And so I had some time, and Ryan and I said, well, do we want to go into the studio and just experiment? And so that's how we went in to Suni Lyon's studio. And it became really apparent that Suni had to be in the band. He's just a genius. And so we started working on a sound for the band, what kind of style we wanted, and experimenting with my vocals and stuff. So
yeah, I mean, you mentioned all these like garage rock and psychedelia, and that's not what you landed on at all.
No, I didn't. No, so I love it. So and this is something that I wouldn't have done. I had to like really lay back and sing in a certain way. And it was really It was amazing to do. It was like a college, music school for me. I was learning how to do things that I wouldn't necessarily do.
Right, right. That's interesting. To go to such a drastically different style after so many years performing,
Absolutely,
being known for a certain style. How did you guys arrive at this sound? I guess describe the moment when you were like, okay, this is it. This is what I do. This is what you do.
Well, I would do, we had some music, and I would do this vocalese, kind of like experimentational, vocals. And so Suni really, really liked what I was doing. And it was more of a kind of atmospheric kind of expression. And we developed it from there.
Mm-hmm. Was it a conscious choice of, all right, I'm not going to do Cindy Wilson of the B-52’s. I'm going to do Cindy
Well, the closest thing on the album is going to be Taking My Time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a junior senior song.
Yeah.
That's the closest to the old style that I sing on this album. But the rest of there are variations, but it's definitely more dreamy, more controlled.
Yeah, it's definitely breathy rather than like exuberant.
Yes, exactly.
Though it's funny too, because to think about like the other members' solo careers, like when Fred does Monster, that's very much the Fred Schneider we all know. And this is just, wait, what? Like I almost thought I had the wrong link when I clicked on it. I was like, they must have sent me the wrong album.
Yeah,
but I love it.
Oh, I'm so glad. I wouldn't back this project with my time and in work if I didn't totally like what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it really had to be pretty good for me to push it like I am.
Yeah. Do you tap into a different energy source or anything, or it's just it's so different that
It's so different. It's so different. It's kind of, it's like a psychedelic dream. Yeah, you're kind of on a journey. Doing the show every night. It like starts from the beginning and just flows from the first song and it's just amazing how it does, and it takes you through a journey, I think. Yeah,
there's a multimedia component, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's been fun, and learning how to do things more artfully and I guess and looking at the budget too. We're having to do things, like you don't have to spend $1 zillion to get a really good product,
Mm-hmm. And how about the lyrics? They're not as easy to make out, and then also they're definitely not as in your face silly as saying "I'll give you fish, I'll give you candy."
It's not that. It's definitely not rock lobster,
right?
But that's all good, and thank goodness for the B-52’s.
But how do you approach the lyrics to this project?
Well, actually, everybody came in with some songs. So, like I said, it's a learning, and it's a school for me, and I'm glad to do it.
I mentioned that I'll give you fish, I'll give you candy. Tell me a little bit about the lyrics of "Give Me Back My Man," and how on earth did you guys come up with that one? It's just, I only today it occurred to me, like, wait, is she singing that she'll give the birds fish and candy and they'll get her man back for him?
We always made it a rule, Pat, never to tell the complete meaning of the songs because it ruins people's interpretations, and it's really fun to hear people's interpretations.
Right. So judging by your laughter, I'm pretty far off the mark that she's not summoning the power of the birds.
I like that. Let's go with that.
But just tell me, when you guys came up with the fish line, it's just so absurd. Were you guys laughing when that part came up?
I give you fish. Yeah. It's kind of sexual too. Believe it or not, the B-52’s always throw in sex somewhere in the song. And you wouldn't believe it, but it's true.
Oh, no, I believe it. I mean, well, going back to what we said, Fred's Monster song.
Oh, yeah. You know that he finally, he performed that with Ryan Monahan. Yeah, Monster. And it turned out so great.
That's awesome. I get that song in my head every day for the weirdest reason I have to share with you is when I use nasal spray in the morning, I go two squirts and then I inhale it. So it's a so, but then it's in my head, it's monster, monster,
I know what you're saying. Yeah. I know.
Anyway, that's a weird way to end the interview, but
I love it.
Thank you so very much for your time.
Oh, it was fun, Pat. Thank you.
Yes, listeners, definitely one of the weirder ways I have ever ended an interview, telling a singer that her bandmate's solo song is in my head every single day when I use nasal spray. Thank you very much for listening. Find us at online.berklee.edu/take-note. And make sure to join us on Monday, the 11th of September at 1 p.m. Eastern for a live Skype interview with Josh Ritter. And submit your questions with the hashtag Berklee Online Live. I will see you then.